For 20 years, he parked at the bank every Tuesday, but never went inside. I watched from afar as my daughter-in-law sneakily slipped into his back seat. They whispered, and he handed her a thick manila envelope. The next 60 seconds would destroy everything I thought I knew about my marriage.
Before we continue, comment where you're watching from and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching.
I had followed Walter that morning on a whim, a feeling in my gut, a suspicion I could not name. After 43 years of marriage, you learn to trust those feelings even when you cannot explain them. He left the house at 9:15, same as every Tuesday, said he was going to the bank to check on some accounts, said he would be back by lunch, said all the things he had said every Tuesday for 2 decades. But this time, I followed. I kept 3 cars between us on the highway, just like they do in the movies. I felt ridiculous. A 66-year-old woman playing detective with her own husband. But something was wrong. Something had been wrong for years, and I had been too afraid to look closely. Walter pulled into the First National Bank parking lot at 9:47. He parked in the far corner, away from the entrance, away from the other cars. He did not get out. I parked across the street behind a minivan where I could see him without being seen. At 9:52, a silver Honda pulled into the lot. I recognized it immediately. Vanessa's car. My daughter-in-law, married to my son Thomas for 13 years, mother of my only grandchild. She did not park near the entrance either. She pulled up next to Walter's car and slipped out quickly, looking around to make sure no one was watching. She did not see me. I watched her open Walter's back door and climb in. The windows were tinted, but I could see shapes moving. 2 people close together talking. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Were they having an affair? Was my husband sleeping with my son's wife? The thought made me physically sick. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. After 10 minutes, Vanessa opened the door and stepped out. She was holding something. A thick manila envelope, the kind lawyers use for important documents. Walter said something to her through the window. She nodded, tucked the envelope under her arm, and turned to walk back to her car. That was when I moved. I do not remember getting out of my car. I do not remember crossing the street. I only remember grabbing Vanessa's arm and snatching the envelope from her hands before she could react. "Evelyn!" Her face went white. What is this?" I was shaking. My voice did not sound like my own. "What is he giving you?" "It's nothing. It's just—" I tore open the envelope. Inside was cash, stacks of it, $100 bills, banded together in neat bundles. I counted quickly. 50 bills per bundle, 5 bundles, $25,000. Wait. I counted again. $5,000. There was also a note. Handwritten in Walter's cramped script. Same value, same day, same silence. I looked up at Vanessa. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Behind her, I heard a car door open. Walter was getting out, walking toward us with his hands raised like he was approaching a wild animal. "Evelyn," he said, "let me explain." "Explain what?" I held up the envelope. "Explain why you're giving our daughter-in-law $5,000 in cash? Explain what same silence means?" "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." I was screaming now. In a bank parking lot at 10 in the morning, screaming at my husband of 43 years. "Tell me why you've been coming here every Tuesday for 20 years. Tell me what secret is worth $5,000 a week." Vanessa tried to grab the envelope from my hands. I pushed her away. "Don't touch me," I said. "Don't you dare touch me." Walter reached us. His face was gray, his eyes hollow. He looked like a man who had been caught doing something unforgivable. "How long?" I asked. My voice was quieter now, but harder. "How long has this been going on?" He did not answer. 20 years, Vanessa said. Her voice was small, defeated. "Since before Thomas and I got married." I did the math in my head. $5,000 a week, 52 weeks a year, 20 years, $5,200,000. My husband had given my daughter-in-law more than $5 million, and I had never known. I had never even suspected. Why? The word came out as a whisper. Walter looked at Vanessa. She looked at the ground. Tell her, Vanessa said. She deserves to know. Not here, not like this. Then where? When? I grabbed Walter's arm. I have spent 43 years with you. I have raised your son. I have kept your house. I have loved you with everything I had. And you have been lying to me for 20 years. I was protecting you. From what? Walter closed his eyes. When he opened them, I saw something I had never seen before. Fear. From the truth, he said. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to scream, to cry, to collapse on the pavement and never get up, but I did none of those things. Instead, I took a deep breath and forced myself to be calm. We are going home, I said. All three of us. And you are going to tell me everything, every payment, every secret, every lie you have told me for the past 2 decades. Evelyn, if you try to lie to me again, I will call Thomas. I will call our lawyer. I will call everyone we know and tell them what I just saw. I looked at Vanessa. And you. You have been taking money from my husband for 20 years. Whatever this is, whatever secret you've been keeping, it ends today. Vanessa nodded. She did not argue. She did not try to explain. We drove home in separate cars. Walter in front, then me, then Vanessa. A funeral procession for a marriage I thought I knew. The house was quiet when we arrived. Thomas was at work. Lily was at school. Just the three of us, sitting in the living room where we had celebrated so many Christmases, so many birthdays, so many ordinary family moments. All of them built on lies. Start talking, I said. Walter looked at his hands. It's about Lily. My heart stopped. What about Lily? She's not... He could not finish the sentence. She's not Thomas's daughter, Vanessa said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. She's not your son's biological child. The room tilted. I grabbed the arm of the couch to steady myself. Then whose is she? Walter finally looked at me. His eyes were wet with tears I had never seen him shed. My brother's, he said. Lily is Raymond's daughter. Raymond, Walter's younger brother. Dead for 18 years, killed in a car accident before Lily was even born. That's impossible, I said. Raymond died before Lily was born, yes. But not before she was conceived. Walter's voice was barely a whisper. Vanessa was seeing both of them. Thomas and Raymond? She didn't know she was pregnant until after Raymond died. I looked at Vanessa. She was staring at the floor. Is this true? She nodded. When Thomas proposed, I was already pregnant. I knew it might be Raymond's, but I hoped. She shook her head. I did a DNA test when Lily was 6 months old. Walter caught me with the results. And you've been paying her ever since, I said to Walter. To keep quiet, to protect Thomas, to protect Lily, to protect our family. Walter reached for my hand. I pulled away. If Thomas found out that Lily wasn't his, it would destroy him. You know how much he loves that girl. She's his whole world. So, you decided to lie. For 20 years, you decided to pay Vanessa $5 million to maintain a lie. I didn't know what else to do. I stood up. My legs were unsteady, but I forced myself to walk to the window. Outside, the sun was shining. Birds were singing. The world was continuing as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Does Lily know? I asked. No, Vanessa said. She has no idea. And Thomas? He thinks Lily is his. He's always thought Lily is his. I turned around and faced them both. 20 years, I said. 20 years of lies. 20 years of secret meetings and cash payments and whispered conversations. And you thought this was protecting our family? Evelyn, please, get out! I pointed at Vanessa. Get out of my house. Now. But, I said get out. Vanessa stood up and walked to the door. She paused with her hand on the handle. I'm sorry, she said. For everything. Then she was gone. I turned to Walter, my husband, the man I had trusted with my life. 20 years, I said. How could you keep this from me for 20 years? He had no answer. And neither did I. I spent the next 3 days going through every financial record I could find. Walter had a home office on the second floor, a room I rarely entered. He called it his private space, and I had respected that boundary for 4 decades. Now I understood why he wanted to keep me out. The file cabinet in the corner was locked. I found the key in his desk drawer, hidden under a false bottom he must have installed years ago. Inside were folders, dozens of them, organized by year, each one labeled with a single word: Tuesday. I started with 2004, the year Lily was born. The records were meticulous. Walter had documented every payment: date, amount, location. $5,000 every Tuesday, deposited into an envelope and handed to Vanessa in the bank parking lot. But that was not all. There were other payments, larger ones. $100,000 in 2005 for medical expenses. $50,000 in 2008 for home renovations. $200,000 in 2015 for reasons not specified. I added up the numbers. By the time I reached 2024, the total was not $5 million. It was closer to $7 million. Gone. Given to a woman who had been blackmailing my husband for 2 decades. I found the letter at the bottom of the 2004 folder. It was handwritten on cheap notebook paper, the kind you buy at a dollar store. The handwriting was Vanessa's. I recognized it from the birthday cards she had sent over the years. Walter, it read. I know the truth about Lily. I know she's Raymond's daughter, not Thomas's. If you don't want your son to find out, you'll pay me $5,000 every week. Cash. No questions. Same time, same place, every Tuesday. If you miss a payment, I'll tell Thomas everything, and then I'll tell Evelyn. I read the letter 3 times. Vanessa had not been keeping a secret out of kindness. She had not been protecting Thomas or Lily. She had been extorting my husband for 20 years, threatening to destroy our family if he did not pay. And Walter had paid. Week after week, year after year. He had emptied our savings, liquidated investments, taken out loans I never knew about, all to keep Vanessa quiet. I felt sick, not just at the betrayal, but at the scope of it, the elaborate deception, the careful planning, the absolute certainty that I would never find out. Walter came home that evening to find me sitting at his desk, surrounded by folders. Evelyn. His voice was hoarse. What are you doing? Reading. I held up the letter. Did you know this is blackmail? Did you know you could have gone to the police and told them what? That my daughter-in-law was threatening to reveal that my granddaughter isn't my son's biological child? Walter sat down heavily in the chair across from me. They would have laughed me out of the station. You could have told Thomas. You could have told me. We could have figured this out together. And destroyed our family in the process. Our family was already destroyed, Walter. You just didn't let me see it. He had no response to that. I spent the next hour asking questions. Walter answered them all, his voice flat and defeated. The affair between Vanessa and Raymond had lasted 3 months. It started when Thomas was away on a business trip and Raymond was helping Vanessa move furniture. One thing led to another. Neither of them meant for it to happen. When Raymond died in the car accident, Vanessa was already pregnant. She did not know whose baby it was. She married Thomas 2 months later, hoping the child would be his. She did a DNA test, Walter said. When Lily was 6 months old, she came to me with the results, said she would tell Thomas unless I paid her. Why didn't you tell me? Because you would have told Thomas. I know you, Evelyn. You can't keep secrets from people you love. He was right. I would have told Thomas. I would have believed that honesty was the best policy, that the truth would set us free. But now, looking at 17 years of lies, I was not so sure. Does Lily know? I asked. She has no idea. As far as she's concerned, Thomas is her father, and Thomas loves her. More than anything in the world, I thought about my son, about the way he looked at Lily, the pride in his eyes when she won the spelling bee, the tears he shed when she gave her first piano recital. Thomas had built his entire identity around being Lily's father. If he found out the truth, it would destroy him. But could I live with the lie? Could I look at my son and my granddaughter, knowing what I knew, and pretend that everything was normal? "There's something else," Walter said. "Something Vanessa doesn't know." "What?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I had Harold Price look into her finances last year. I wanted to know where the money was going. Harold Price was our family lawyer. He had handled our wills, our trusts, our real estate transactions. I had not known he was also investigating Vanessa." I unfolded the paper. It was a financial summary, filled with numbers and account names. "She's been stealing from Thomas," Walter said. "For years, skimming from his business accounts, hiding money in offshore accounts. The payments I was giving her weren't enough. She's been taking from our son, too." "How much?" "At least 300,000, maybe more." I set down the paper. "So she's not just a blackmailer. She's a thief." "Yes. And Thomas doesn't know?" "Thomas trusts her completely. He gives her access to everything." I looked at the folders spread across the desk. 20 years of payments, 20 years of secrets, and underneath it all, a woman who had been systematically destroying our family while pretending to be part of it. "We need to stop her," I said. "If we stop the payments, she'll tell Thomas about Lily. Then we need to find another way. A way to remove Vanessa from our lives without revealing the truth about Lily." Walter looked at me with something like hope in his eyes. "You're not going to tell Thomas?" "I don't know yet, but I'm not going to let Vanessa keep extorting us, and I'm not going to let her steal from our son." I stood up and gathered the folders. "What are you doing?" Walter asked. "Making copies, everything. The payments, the letter, the financial records. I want documentation of every dollar you've given her." "Why?" "Because Vanessa thinks she has power over us. She thinks she can threaten and steal and lie, and we'll just keep paying." I looked at my husband. "She's wrong, and I'm going to prove it." I spent the rest of the night at the copy machine, documenting 20 years of extortion. By morning, I had 3 complete sets, one for me, one for Walter, one for Harold Price. I did not know yet what I was going to do with the information. I did not know how to stop Vanessa without destroying Thomas. But I knew one thing. I was done being a victim. I was done watching my family be held hostage by a woman who had never loved any of us. The war had begun, and I intended to win. I met Harold Price at his office 3 days after discovering the truth. He was 72 years old, semi-retired, with a reputation for discretion that had served our family well for decades. He had handled my parents' estate. He had drawn up our wills. He had never once betrayed a confidence. I needed that discretion now more than ever. "Evelyn." He rose to greet me, his handshake firm despite his age. "Walter told me you would be coming. I'm sorry about all this." "You knew? About the payments?" "I've known for about 3 years. Walter came to me when he realized how much he had given Vanessa over time. He asked me to investigate her finances. And you didn't think to tell me?" Harold sighed. "Walter asked me not to. He said he was protecting you. Everyone keeps saying that. Protecting me. As if I'm some fragile thing that can't handle the truth." I sat down in the leather chair across from his desk. "I'm not fragile, Harold. I'm angry. You have every right to be." I opened my briefcase and pulled out the folders I had copied. "I want you to look at these. Every payment Walter made. Every dollar Vanessa extorted from him. And I want you to tell me how to stop her." Harold took the folders and began reviewing them. His face remained neutral, but I saw his eyebrows rise when he reached certain figures. $7 million, he said finally. "That's more than I realized. It's more than our entire retirement savings. Walter had to take out loans to keep paying her. We're almost broke, Harold. After 43 years of marriage, we have almost nothing left." "I'm sorry, Evelyn. I don't want sorry. I want a plan." Harold leaned back in his chair. "The challenge is Lily. As long as Vanessa has that leverage, the truth about Lily's paternity, she can hold your family hostage. So we need to neutralize that leverage." "How?" "The only way to neutralize it would be to tell Thomas the truth yourself. Take away Vanessa's power by beating her to the punch." "No." The word came out sharper than I intended. "I won't destroy my son's relationship with his daughter. I won't do that to Lily." "Then what do you propose?" I had spent 3 sleepless nights thinking about this. 3 nights of staring at the ceiling, running scenarios in my head, trying to find a path that did not lead to destruction. We separate the issues, I said. The extortion is one thing. The embezzlement is another. We go after Vanessa for stealing from Thomas's business. We build a case that has nothing to do with Lily. And if she threatens to reveal the truth, then we expose her first. We show Thomas what she's done, the stealing, the lying, the betrayal of his trust. By the time she tries to use Lily as leverage, Thomas will be too angry to believe anything she says. Harold considered this. It could work, but it's risky. If Vanessa suspects what you're planning, she could preempt you. Then we need to move fast. There's something else you should know. Harold pulled a folder from his own desk. I've been doing additional research on Vanessa. The embezzlement from Thomas's business isn't the only crime she's committing. What do you mean? She has a boyfriend, a man named Derek Reynolds. He's a real estate developer based in Charlotte. Harold opened the folder and showed me photographs. They've been seeing each other for at least 2 years, and they've been planning something. The photographs showed Vanessa and a man I did not recognize, tall, dark-haired, expensive suit, entering hotels, having dinner at restaurants, walking hand in hand through parking lots. She's cheating on Thomas? It appears so. But that's not the most interesting part. Harold pointed to a document in the folder. 6 months ago, Vanessa transferred $200,000 to a bank account in the Cayman Islands. The account is jointly held by her and Derek Reynolds. $200,000? From where? From Thomas's business accounts, and from the payments Walter has been making. Harold shook his head. She's not just extorting your family, Evelyn. She's preparing to run. She and Derek are planning to take the money and disappear. I stared at the documents, the photographs, the bank records. Vanessa had been playing us all. Not just Walter, not just Thomas, all of us. She had spent 20 years draining our family dry, and now she was getting ready to leave. How long do we have? I don't know. But based on the pattern of transfers, I would guess a few months, maybe less. Then we need to act now. I stood up and gathered the folders. Harold stood with me. Evelyn, are you sure about this? Once you start down this path, there's no going back. I'm sure. I met his eyes. This woman has spent 20 years destroying my family. She's taken our money, she's lied to our son, and now she's planning to abandon my granddaughter for some con man in Charlotte. I'm not going to let her get away with it. What about Lily? What happens to her if Vanessa leaves? I thought about my granddaughter, 17 years old, finishing her junior year of high school, a beautiful, smart, kind girl who had no idea that her entire life was built on lies. Lily stays with us, with me and Thomas. She's our family, Harold. I don't care whose DNA she carries. She's been my granddaughter since the day she was born, and nothing is going to change that. And the truth about her paternity? She never needs to know. Thomas never needs to know. We remove Vanessa from our lives, we protect Lily, and we move on. Harold nodded slowly. All right. I'll start preparing the case against Vanessa. We'll document the embezzlement, the affair, the planned escape. When you're ready to move, we'll have everything we need. How long? Give me 2 weeks. I'll have a complete file on everything she's done. I walked out of Harold's office into the bright Virginia afternoon. The sun was warm on my face. The birds were singing in the trees. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I would have what I needed to destroy Vanessa. But first, I needed to do something much harder. I needed to pretend that nothing had changed. I needed to smile at family dinners, make small talk at Sunday brunches, act like everything was normal while I plotted the downfall of the woman who had been destroying us for 2 decades. It was the hardest thing I had ever done, but I had no choice. Lily was counting on me. Thomas was counting on me. Even Walter, despite everything he had done, was counting on me. I would not let them down. The next 2 weeks were a blur of secret meetings and careful planning. Harold gathered evidence. I maintained the facade. Walter, for the first time in 20 years, stopped making the Tuesday payments. Vanessa noticed. She called Walter, demanding to know why the money had stopped. He told her he was having cash flow problems, that he would catch up next month. She believed him, or at least she pretended to believe him. But I saw the look in her eyes at Sunday dinner, the suspicion, the calculation. She knew something was wrong. Good. Let her wonder. Let her worry. Her time was running out. And soon, very soon, she would learn exactly what happened to people who tried to destroy my family. Harold called me on a Tuesday morning, exactly 2 weeks after our meeting. "It's ready," he said. "Everything we need. Bank records, photographs, witness statements. We have enough to bury her." "What about Derek Reynolds?" "He's got a record. Fraud, embezzlement, running cons on wealthy women. Vanessa picked a real winner." Harold's voice was grim. "They're planning to leave next month. I found flight reservations to Costa Rica. One-way tickets." "One way?" "They're not coming back, Evelyn. They're going to take the money and disappear." I felt a cold fury settle in my chest. This woman had spent 20 years bleeding us dry, and now she was going to abandon my granddaughter without a second thought. "What about Lily?" I asked. "The reservation is for 2 passengers, Vanessa and Derek. There's no ticket for Lily." I closed my eyes. I had suspected this, but hearing it confirmed was something else entirely. Vanessa was planning to leave her own daughter behind like an unwanted piece of luggage. "When do we move?" "Whenever you're ready. But I suggest sooner rather than later. If Vanessa suspects anything, she might accelerate her timeline." "Tonight. We tell Thomas tonight." I spent the rest of the day preparing. I made copies of the most damning documents. I organized the photographs of Vanessa with Derek. I wrote out a timeline of her crimes, from the first payment Walter made in 2004 to the offshore transfers she had made last month. When Thomas came for his regular Tuesday dinner, I was ready. "Mom? Dad?" Thomas kissed my cheek and shook Walter's hand. "Where's Vanessa?" "I thought she was meeting us here." "She's not coming," I said. "We need to talk to you alone." Thomas looked confused. "Is everything okay? Is it about Lily?" "In a way." I gestured to the dining room table, where I had laid out the evidence. "Sit down, honey. This is going to be hard to hear." Thomas sat. Walter sat across from him, unable to meet his son's eyes. I stood at the head of the table, the documents spread before me like exhibits in a trial. "Thomas, I need you to listen to everything I'm about to tell you. And I need you to promise that you won't do anything until you've heard it all. Mom, you're scaring me. I know. I'm sorry. But you need to know the truth about your wife." I started from the beginning, not from the parking lot. That story would have to wait. But from the embezzlement. I showed him the bank records, the transfers, the missing money from his business accounts. "She's been stealing from you for years," I said. "At least $300,000, probably more. Hiding it in offshore accounts, moving it to places you couldn't trace." Thomas stared at the documents. His face had gone pale. "That's impossible." "Vanessa handles the books. She would never." "She would. She has been." I laid out the next set of documents. "And that's not all." I showed him the photographs of Vanessa with Derek, the hotel receipts, the text messages Harold's investigator had managed to recover. "She's been having an affair for at least 2 years. His name is Derek Reynolds. He's a con artist with a criminal record." I took a breath. "They're planning to leave the country next month. One-way tickets to Costa Rica. There's no reservation for Lily." Thomas was shaking now. His hands trembled as he picked up the photographs, studied them, set them down. "Why?" His voice was barely a whisper. Why would she do this? This was the moment I had dreaded, the question I could not fully answer without revealing the truth about Lily. "Because she never loved you," I said. "It was cruel, but it was true. She married you for your money, for access to our family. And now that she's taken everything she can get, she's leaving. But Lily, she's abandoning Lily. She's planning to leave your daughter behind and start a new life with her boyfriend." I reached across the table and took Thomas's hands. "I'm sorry, honey. I'm so sorry." Thomas sat in silence for a long time. I watched emotions play across his face. Shock, disbelief, anger, grief. The destruction of everything he thought he knew about his marriage. "How long have you known?" he finally asked. 2 weeks. Harold helped me put the case together." 2 weeks? Thomas laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "And you're just telling me now?" "I needed proof. I needed to be sure before I accused her of anything. Thomas stood up abruptly, knocking his chair back. I need to talk to her. I need to hear this from her. Thomas, wait. No. He was already reaching for his phone. I'm calling her right now. I want to hear her deny it. She won't deny it. She'll lie, Thomas. She's been lying for years. But he was not listening. He dialed Vanessa's number and waited, the phone pressed to his ear. No answer. He tried again. Still no answer. She's not picking up, he said. She might be with Derek. Or she might have already figured out that we know. Thomas's face hardened. I'm going home. I'm going to find her and I'm going to get the truth. I'll come with you. I need to do this alone. He grabbed his jacket and walked out the door. I heard his car start, heard the tires squeal as he backed out of the driveway. Walter had not moved from his chair. He was staring at the table, at the documents that proved his daughter-in-law was a criminal. You didn't tell him everything, he said. I didn't tell him about Lily. Are you going to? I thought about it. About the secret that had started all of this. The lie that had cost us $7 million and 20 years of deception. No, I said finally. Thomas loves that girl. He's been her father since the day she was born. What good would it do to tell him the truth now? But Vanessa knows. When Thomas confronts her, she won't. She's running away, Walter. She's not going to waste time throwing bombs when she's already planning her escape. You can't be sure of that. I can't. I started gathering the documents. But I can be ready. If Vanessa tries to use Lily as leverage, I'll be prepared to counter her. How? By exposing everything else. The embezzlement, the affair, the abandoned child. By the time I'm done, no one will believe a word she says. Walter looked at me with something like wonder in his eyes. You've changed, Evelyn. You're not the same person you were 2 weeks ago. I'm not. I met his gaze. I spent 43 years being a good wife, a good mother, a good person. And where did it get me? My husband lied to me for 20 years. My daughter-in-law stole from my son. My granddaughter's entire life is built on a secret I can never reveal. I stacked the documents into a neat pile. I'm done being good, Walter. From now on, I'm going to be effective. My phone rang. Thomas. Mom. His voice was tight, controlled. She's gone. Vanessa's gone. Half her clothes are missing. Her passport is gone. The joint account is empty. She ran. And she left Lily here. She left a note saying she needed to find herself, and that Lily would be better off with us. I closed my eyes. Part of me was relieved. Vanessa was gone. The immediate threat neutralized. But part of me was furious. After everything she had done, she did not even have the decency to face the consequences. Come home, Thomas. Bring Lily. We'll figure this out together. I'm on my way. I hung up and looked at Walter. It's over, I said. Vanessa's gone. Is it really over? The immediate crisis, yes. But the work is just beginning. I picked up the folder of evidence. We need to protect Lily. We need to help Thomas rebuild. And we need to make sure Vanessa can never hurt this family again. How do we do that? One step at a time. I walked to the window and looked out at the darkening sky. One step at a time. Thomas and Lily arrived at our house an hour later. Lily's face was red from crying. She clutched her father's arm as they walked through the door, looking younger than her 17 years, looking like the little girl who used to run to me whenever she scraped her knee. Grandma. She let go of Thomas and threw herself into my arms. Dad told me. Mom left. She just left. I held her tight. I know, sweetheart. I know. Why would she do this? Why would she leave me? I did not have an answer. How do you explain to a child that her mother never loved her, that she was just a byproduct of an affair, a complication to be managed, an obstacle to be abandoned when the time was right? Some people aren't capable of loving the way they should, I said. It's not your fault. It was never your fault. Lily cried for a long time. I held her and stroked her hair and whispered meaningless, comforting words. Behind her, Thomas stood in the doorway, his face blank with shock. Eventually, Lily fell asleep on the couch. I covered her with a blanket and joined Thomas in the kitchen. How are you holding up? I asked. I don't know. He was holding a cup of coffee, but he had not drunk any of it. I keep trying to figure out where it went wrong. When she stopped loving me. When she started planning to leave. She never loved you, Thomas. I'm sorry. But it's true. She married you for your money, for access to our family. Everything else was an act. 13 years. 13 years of marriage. And it was all a lie. Not all of it. Lily is real. Your love for her is real. That's not a lie. Thomas set down the coffee cup. His hands were trembling. What am I supposed to do now? How do I explain this to Lily? How do I tell her that her mother was a thief and a liar and a... He stopped. I can't even say the word. You don't have to explain anything tonight. Tonight, you just need to be there for her. The explanations can come later. Thomas looked at me. You knew, didn't you? About the money. About Derek. You knew before you told me. I found out 2 weeks ago. I needed time to gather evidence. What else do you know? This was the moment I had dreaded. The question that could unravel everything. I know that Vanessa was blackmailing your father, I said carefully. I know that she's been receiving payments from him for years. Payments? For what? To keep secrets. To stay quiet about things she knew. What kind of secrets? I hesitated. The truth was right there, balanced on the tip of my tongue. One word, one revelation, and Thomas would know everything. But then I thought of Lily, sleeping in the next room. Lily, who had just lost her mother. Lily, who needed stability and love. Not more devastating revelations. Financial matters, I said. Things related to the business, to family money. Your father made some mistakes years ago, and Vanessa found out. She's been holding it over him ever since. It was not a lie. Not exactly. But it was not the whole truth either. Thomas seemed to accept this explanation. He was too exhausted, too overwhelmed to dig deeper. What happens now? He asked. Now we take care of Lily. We help her through this. And we make sure Vanessa can never hurt this family again. How? Harold is working on it. We're going to pursue criminal charges for the embezzlement. We're going to freeze any assets she tries to access. And we're going to make sure she can never come back. What if she tries to contact Lily? She won't. She's on a plane to Costa Rica with her boyfriend. She's not coming back. Thomas was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised me. I feel like a fool. 13 years, Mom. I slept next to this woman for 13 years, and I had no idea who she really was. That's not your fault. People like Vanessa are experts at hiding their true selves. They show you exactly what you want to see. But you saw through her. Eventually. It took me 20 years. But I finally saw the truth. Thomas looked at me sharply. 20 years? I thought you said you found out 2 weeks ago. I had said too much. The secret was pressing against me, demanding to be released. Your father has known for longer, I said carefully. I only found out recently, but the situation has been going on for a long time. Thomas opened his mouth to ask another question, but a sound from the living room interrupted us. Lily was waking up. I should go to her, Thomas said. Yes, be with your daughter. He left, and I sank into a kitchen chair, my heart pounding. I had come so close to revealing everything. One more question, one more push, and the whole truth would have come spilling out. But Lily needed her father, and Thomas needed to believe that Lily was his. Taking that away from them would serve no purpose except to cause more pain. Walter appeared in the kitchen doorway. He had been hiding in his study, avoiding Thomas, unable to face the consequences of his decades of deception. You almost told him, he said. Yes, but you didn't. No, why? I looked at my husband, at this man who had lied to me for 20 years, who had paid millions of dollars to protect a secret that was not even his to keep. Because some truths are better left buried, I said, because telling Thomas would destroy him and Lily both. Because sometimes protecting the people you love means carrying burdens they never know about. Walter sat down across from me. I'm sorry, Evelyn. For everything. For the lies, the payments, the secrets. I thought I was doing the right thing. I know you did. That doesn't make it right, but I understand why you did it. Can you forgive me? I thought about it. Forgiveness. Such a simple word for such a complicated concept. I don't know yet, I said honestly. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I feel betrayed in ways I'm still trying to understand. I reached across the table and took his hand. But I'm not going to leave you. We've been married for 43 years. We've built a life together, raised a son, loved a granddaughter. I'm not throwing all that away because of Vanessa. What about the money? We're almost broke. Money can be rebuilt. Trust takes longer, but that can be rebuilt too. I squeezed his hand. We'll get through this, Walter. Together. From the living room, I heard Lily's voice, asking her father what was going to happen next. I heard Thomas's low, reassuring response. Our family was broken, but we were still a family, and together, we would find a way to heal. The next few days were difficult. Lily stayed with us, unable to face the house where she had lived with her mother. Thomas began the process of filing for divorce, freezing accounts, documenting everything Vanessa had stolen. Harold worked with the authorities in Costa Rica, trying to track Vanessa and Derek. They had arrived safely, but the money trail was harder to follow. Some of what they had taken was gone forever. The rest would take months, maybe years, to recover. But we were moving forward. Step by step, day by day, we were rebuilding, and through it all, I kept the secret. The truth about Lily's paternity remained buried, known only to me, Walter, and Vanessa, who was now thousands of miles away, living her new life with her criminal boyfriend. Some truths were meant to stay hidden. Some lies were necessary to protect the ones we loved. I had learned that lesson the hard way, but I had learned it. And I would carry that burden for as long as I needed to. 6 months later, Lily graduated from high school. She walked across the stage in her blue cap and gown, diploma in hand, a smile on her face that had been hard-won through months of therapy and tears and slow, painful healing. Thomas sat beside me, beaming with pride. Walter sat on my other side, older and quieter than he had been before, but present. Still present. She did it, Thomas whispered. She made it through. She's stronger than she knows, I said. She gets that from you. The ceremony ended, and Lily ran toward us through the crowd. She threw her arms around Thomas first, then me, then Walter. A family embrace, imperfect but real. Grandma, I couldn't have done this without you. Lily's eyes were wet. After everything that happened with Mom, you were always there. I always will be, sweetheart. That's what grandmothers are for. We took photographs. We ate cake. We celebrated this milestone like any normal family, though we were far from normal now. The divorce had been finalized 3 months earlier. Thomas was awarded full custody of Lily, not that Vanessa had contested it. She had not contested anything. She had not called, written, or made any attempt to contact her daughter since the night she fled. The last we heard, she and Derek were living in a small town on the Pacific coast of Costa Rica. The embezzlement charges were still pending, but extradition was complicated. Harold said it could take years before she faced any real consequences. I had made my peace with that. Vanessa was gone. That was what mattered. After the graduation party, after the guests had left and Lily had gone to bed, I sat on the back porch with Walter. The June evening was warm, the fireflies beginning their dance in the darkness. She's going to be okay, Walter said. Yes, she is. And us? Are we going to be okay? I looked at my husband, at the man I had loved for 43 years, at the man who had lied to me for 20 of those years, who had kept secrets I still could not fully forgive. We're getting there, I said, slowly. The truth was, our marriage would never be the same. The trust we had built over 4 decades had been shattered, and rebuilding it was a painstaking process. There were days when I looked at Walter and felt nothing but anger. There were other days when I remembered why I had loved him in the first place. We were seeing a counselor. We were talking more honestly than we had in years. We were trying. I want you to know something, Walter said, about Raymond, about what happened. You don't have to. Yes, I do. He turned to face me. Raymond came to me 3 weeks before he died. He told me about Vanessa. He told me he was in love with her, that he wanted to leave everything behind and start a new life with her. I stared at him. This was new. This was something he had never told me. What did you say? I told him he was a fool. I told him Vanessa was using him, that she was playing games with both him and Thomas. I told him to stay away from her. Walter's voice cracked. 3 weeks later, he was dead, car accident, and I always wondered. Wondered what? If I had told Thomas instead, if I had exposed Vanessa back then, before she got pregnant, before everything got so complicated, maybe Raymond would still be alive. Maybe none of this would have happened. I reached over and took his hand. You can't know that. You can't blame yourself for Raymond's accident. I can blame myself for the 20 years that came after, for paying Vanessa instead of fighting her, for letting her control our family. Yes, you can blame yourself for that. I squeezed his hand. But you can also learn from it. We both can. We sat in silence for a while, watching the fireflies, listening to the crickets. The summer night wrapped around us like a blanket. What happens now? Walter asked. Now we live. We help Thomas and Lily. We rebuild what we can and accept what we can't. I turned to look at him, and we never, ever lie to each other again. I promise. Good. Lily came to stay with us for the summer before starting college. She had been accepted to University of Virginia, close enough to visit on weekends, far enough to have her own life. Those summer months were healing for all of us. We took trips to the beach. We had long dinners on the back porch. We talked about the future, about dreams, about everything except the past. Thomas joined us most weekends. He was different now, quieter, more thoughtful. The betrayal had changed him, but not broken him. He was learning to trust again, slowly, carefully. One evening, as Lily helped me wash dishes after dinner, she asked me something unexpected. Grandma, do you think Mom ever loved me? I stopped scrubbing, set down the plate, turned to face my granddaughter. I think your mother was not capable of love, I said carefully. Not real love, not the kind that stays. But I don't understand. How can someone have a child and not love them? Some people are broken inside, sweetheart. They can't give what they don't have. It's not about you. It was never about you. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, You know what I've realized? You've been more of a mother to me than she ever was. You and Dad. You're my real family, not her. I pulled her into a hug. You've always been my granddaughter. From the moment you were born, you were mine. Nothing will ever change that. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you know. She did not know the truth. She would never know the truth. As far as Lily was concerned, Thomas was her father, and that was all that mattered. The secret about Raymond, about the DNA test, about the decades of blackmail, all of it remained buried. I had decided long ago that some truths caused more harm than good. Lily deserved to grow up believing she was exactly who she thought she was, and she was. Biology did not determine family. Love did. August came, and with it, move-in day at UVA. We loaded Lily's belongings into the car and drove to Charlottesville, a 3-hour journey filled with laughter and memories. Her dorm room was small but bright. We helped her unpack, hung pictures on the wall, made her bed with the new sheets we had bought together. When it was time to leave, Lily walked us to the car. I'm scared, she admitted. What if I don't make friends? What if I fail? You won't fail, I said. And you will make friends. You're brave and kind and smart. People will see that. But what if? No more what ifs. I cupped her face in my hands. You are going to be amazing. I know it. Your father knows it. Even your grandfather knows it, and he's not good at knowing things. Lily laughed. Walter pretended to be offended. Call me every day, I said. Or every week. Or whenever you need to. I'll always answer. I will. I promise. We hugged one more time, and then we left. I watched her in the rearview mirror as we drove away, a young woman standing at the beginning of her life, ready to face whatever came next. She's going to be fine, Thomas said from the back seat. Yes, I agreed. She is. Walter reached over and took my hand. I did not pull away. The drive home was quiet, peaceful. The late summer sun painted the Virginia countryside in shades of gold and green. 20 years of secrets, 20 years of lies. And in the end, what mattered most was love. Love for my granddaughter, who would never know the truth about her parentage. Love for my son, who had survived betrayal and come out stronger. Love for my husband, imperfect and flawed, but still mine after all these years. We pulled into our driveway as the sun was setting. The house looked the same as always. The white columns, the wraparound porch, the oak tree in the front yard that Raymond had planted as a boy. Raymond. I thought of him sometimes, wondered what he would think of Lily, of the beautiful young woman his daughter had become. I like to think he would be proud. Are you coming inside? Walter asked. In a minute. I want to enjoy the evening. He nodded and went in. I stood on the porch, watching the fireflies emerge, listening to the crickets begin their nightly chorus. My family was safe. My granddaughter was starting a new life. My son was healing. My husband was trying. It was not perfect. It would never be perfect, but it was enough. I walked inside, closed the door behind me, and joined my husband in the kitchen. Tea? He asked. Please. He made 2 cups, and we sat together at the kitchen table, drinking tea, saying nothing, being together. That was what mattered. After everything we had been through, after all the lies and secrets and pain, we were still here. We were still family, and that was everything.